All right, up next, Rob, we will go to the East. And I think there's a lot of like intriguing, evenly matched first round matchups in this one. You know, to me, I don't know, like a lot of them here. Go ahead, give me your favorite first round matchup.
I'm going to go to the playing game. I think Michigan State UCLA is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious too. But I mean, just because it's like you never think of these two blue blood programs to be playing out of the playing game, and they're going to be fighting for their lives to go see BYU. So I think Michigan State has played better. They've played incredibly physically, and then Mick Cronin has gotten UCLA back into the NCAA tournament, and I just think that to me that's very interesting seeing those two guys duke it out.
Who do you have winning this one? You got Michigan State?
I've got the Spartans. Now it depends on how they ref the game, though. The referees are going to be huge. Who do you see when those refs walk out of the tunnel is going to have a big impact on that.
Yeah, you're right. Are they going to let them wrestle or not?
That's the scary thing about the NCAA tournament, though, and I think it does hurt the Big Ten sometimes because the conference becomes such a fist fight all the time. And I played an NCAA tournament game. Do you remember Tom O'Neill, the ref?
Sure.
Tom O'Neill refed in the Big Ten forever. And he was on the back end of his Big Ten kind of career when I was at Purdue. And we were playing Washington out in Portland. So real neutral in that 4-5 game in the second round. Like not neutral at all. And there was a block charge call end of the game. And thank God Tom O'Neill has got the call into the basket.
Really?
And it was the right call by Tom.
The right call according to you.
According to the Purdue Boilermakers. But the other two guys were like from the Pac-12. I'd never seen those dudes before. That makes a difference. It really does. You just you get so used to seeing the refs in your conference.
Yep.
So thank God for Tom O'Neill. Because
that is
big play.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be there in that play-in game. I'll definitely be at that one. I mean, that should be very entertaining, a lot of fun, and yeah, I would think again. To me, UCLA's their resume was. I mean, Michigan State had a lot of opportunities, obviously, and they hit some down the stretch. UCLA, I think their only win was Colorado all year of any significance.
And the Big Ten, it just that the sharpening of the iron from playing so many good people. I just think that you have to take that into account when you're looking at some of these games. Like, okay, Michigan State is an 11 seed, but man, they've played so many good teams that I just don't. I think the leagues matter that much in situations like this.
Yeah, well, the Pac-12 has sucked. We saw it. I mean, Oregon State comes out of it and gets the automatic bid. There's a reason. I mean, to me, again, it's Big Ten and Big 12 prepared way more than anything else. I'm going to go with, boy, I mean, honestly, there's a lot to choose from here. I like the LSU St. Bonaventure game because of what's next. I think it's a coin flip game. Mark Schmidt's a hell of a coach. St. Bonnie's, they got 5 juniors. Ole in New York is a really difficult place to win. And LSU, we know what's happened there, right? Like Will Wade somehow continues to stockpile talent, even being under this NCAA cloud. And they get Trendon Watford, they get Javonte Smart. Like they got talent. They got NBA level talent.
Totally.
So I just think, Rob, like whoever wins that game gets a shot at a Michigan team that we don't know how healthy they're going to be. And you could speak to this more than anybody or most. Michigan without Isaiah Livers. What are they? What? How far can they go if they don't have? Can they beat St. Bonaventure or LSU, or is it a dogfight?
I think they can beat either of those teams minus Isaiah Livers. Honestly, I think that the team that would scare the most in that region, minus Livers, and when they had him, they were one of the top 3 teams in the country, no question, would be Florida State. I think Florida State, with just the amount of talent they throw out at you, the length they throw out at you, I feel awful for Isaiah Livers because I think he's a really good example of a guy who stays 4 years at a good program, wins a lot, pays his dues as a role guy on good teams, and now it's his time on a really, really good team. And he wasn't like the shining star of the group. They didn't really have one. They have great balance, but it just when you lose a guy like that, and I was glad to see them play well against Ohio State because sometimes, and we saw this in other cases, we could talk about this about Villanova, and I experienced this when I hurt my knee with Purdue back in 2010. We were going to be a 1 seed, and Michigan was in line to be a 1 seed. And at least they came out and played well enough to have a chance against Ohio State, because when you come out in your first game post-injury and you look like shit, you're about to get dropped 3 or 4 seed lines. Like, to the point where you'd be better off just lying about your best player. And Syracuse did this with Lorenzi Unawaku back in 2010. Well, they knew that dude wasn't coming back. And they just were like, well, he might. He might be back. And that can put that doubt. And, that's a smart play. And Livers being out, definitely. But it was good to see Michigan play well enough to maintain their 1 seed, because they deserve it, man. They've had a heck of a year. And they still gave Ohio State all they wanted.
Your favorite potential second-round matchup in the East region is what?
I went LSU Michigan because of what you talked about, the talent that resides down in Baton Rouge. Like, they are so talented. Honestly, they underachieved so much this year.
Yes.
The game that really sticks out to me, and I don't cover the SEC all that much, but that Big 12 SEC challenge game where LSU just literally handed the game. Who'd they play even? Who was that against? It
was so ugly.
It was the worst game. It's like the worst loss in the history of the world.
Tech, right? Wasn't it Texas Tech?
Yes, Texas Tech. Right. It was Texas Tech. And it's like, it seemed like anything LSU did in the last minute and a half was like a manual for do not do this if you want to beat solid teams in college basketball. Like, you could write the book on it. But they do. They're loaded. And just because of that, I think seeing like a team in Michigan that's without one of their better players, and that's really interesting.
I'm going UConn, Alabama. Mm-hmm. My Crimson Tide, and you call them Dosters, but I was on.
You're both on them. You guys are both just riding.
I was on them preseason. I had them at 18, and that turns out to be way too low. But honestly, this Alabama team is loaded with talent. Yeah. And what I can't wait to see in that matchup is Herbert Jones, guard James Bouknight.
Yeah, that's great offense meets great defense.
It would be a hell of a matchup. Like a great I don't know if UConn's got enough. Like, for me, it's just Alabama. Like, if Alabama plays its A game, right? If they play mentally, if they bring their A game every night, Rob, there aren't too many teams that can beat them. Now, they can have an off shooting night, but they've shown that they can guard now.
Yeah.
And UConn,
defensively, they can really guard. Alabama is really good. I will say it. I know I've been criticized heavily by some of my peers in the media. They're really good. They can shoot it. They've got studs. They have some really, really, really good players.
Yes.
And when you look at their talent level, they have the talent to go to the Final Four. There is no question, especially with Michigan missing Isaiah Livers.
That's the thing. You look at it and you say to yourself, all right, like, could Alabama now again, I love how Nate Oates draws Rick Pitino, though, in the first round matchup. Like, imagine how shitty that's got to be. Nate Oates isn't going to sleep tonight. Yeah. Like, he's not going to sleep tonight. This guy was a high school coach like 8 years ago, and now he's coaching
a living legend.
Right. Coaching against Rick Pitino at Iona, where, like, if you lose that one, you are going to get absolutely, like, and this is like a year for you where it's kind of open now, like we talked about with Michigan. You can get to the Final Four at Alabama. Like, if you can do that, you're not at Saban level, but like, everybody's going to actually know who you are on campus.
Totally. Douster might not sleep he might go into witness protection if Alabama were to lose to Iona. He would not be able to show his face. I'd love it. It'd be great.
Top players in the East region, Rob.
You mentioned Herb Jones. Yep. He's certainly up there. Hunter Dickinson is a tremendous talent up at Michigan. Has had an amazing freshman year. Really, really impressive to see what he's been able to do. You mentioned James Bouknight.
Hey, is Dickinson, in your opinion, I don't know if we've talked about this. What's Hunter Dickinson in the NBA?
Boy, if it was 1993, I'd be like, he's going to be awesome.
It's not, Rob.
I think because of his skill set, he'll be there. They still need big bodies. Like I know everybody talks about how you need to be, because he is skilled and he can shoot it and he can protect the rim. And I think that he's probably like a role player,
rotation
at the next level, like a rotation guy for whoever.
Yep.
And like people,
second round pick.
Yeah, I would say early second round, late first round pick. People take offense to that, but that means you're really good.
Yeah.
It's not like that's like a diss. I just think that the NBA has gone a different direction from what from playing to his strengths. But I do think he'll play in the NBA for as long as he wants.
It's just crazy. I mean, think about that. All right, we're talking Dickinson's having this incredible year. Greg Brown has been like up, down, and around from Texas.
But he is talented, man.
But like who's going higher? It's not even close.
Greg Brown. Brown will be drafted in like the top 15 picks, and he is.
So you got to watch out for Greg Brown.
Texas has so much talent, and I think that when you look at their team, you look at the guards, their experience. You have Andrew Jones, you've got Courtney Ramey, you got Matt Coleman, 3 really good players. You throw in Greg Brown, you throw in Kai Jones. Those 2 guys are lottery picks.
Yeah.
I mean, they're long, they're athletic. I love their team, honestly. I think with the way they played at the Big 12 tournament, I've got them coming out of this one.
Me too.
I've got them going to the Final Four.
I've been on Texas for a couple of weeks.
This is going to be hard for you. This is going to be really, really hard for you because you've got a love fest with Bama.
I know.
And now you're going to claim that you've been on Texas for a couple of weeks. So please.
It's tough, but I think Texas is the better team, especially up front. So we're going with top players to watch. Bouknight, Herb Jones, Hunter Dickinson, and then Texas has Kai Jones, Greg Brown up front. I mean, they got dudes. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anybody in this.
And they have experienced guards too.
Yeah, they do. They do. And all right, so now we'll go on to the top storyline coming out of the East is what?
I think the Blue Bloods in the playing game is a big storyline to me. And then just what is Michigan without Isaiah Livers? We kind of hit on that earlier. I think Georgetown's a great story.
Yeah, you're missing the biggest story. This is the biggest
getting to it. I'm getting to it.
All right.
I think Georgetown and Patrick Ewing's resurgence for the Hoyas. I mean, that was sweet to watch. Seeing him win
paranoia
for Garden. I'm glad that they should let him walk wherever he wants in the Garden now. No passes, not necessary.
No. Hey,
that's a cool story.
The Madison Square Garden ushers, some of them are the biggest assholes ever. Like if I try to get from one end, literally there was a room in the back hallway. You go back, and if you want to get to the other side, you go through this room that's like food in it or whatever. And I wanted to go from 20 feet away, just walk through this room. And these guys would not let me do. I had to instead walk up 4 sets of elevators, through the concourse, to another elevator to come down. I'm like, you MF, come on. It's right there. I could see, I want to go right there. So I can understand. Now, I'm not Patrick Ewing.
You're not Patrick Ewing.
I'm not Patrick Ewing. But I understand where Patrick's coming from. Remember the Charles Oakley incident. So anyway.
Yeah, but Patrick is on. I mean, Charles Oakley was a good player for the Knicks, and he should not have been treated like that. But Patrick Ewing is the best player in franchise history, outside of maybe 1 or 2 people.
Very true.
That is abysmal. And he's 7'1".
Right. So everybody, if you don't know who Patrick Ewing is, you shouldn't be working at.
But on the flip side, though, we were talking about this down here. It's that could have been a 21-year-old kid who's getting paid minimum wage to watch a room, and they say no one comes through here unless they've got a pass. And he doesn't even like basketball.
Yep.
And he might just be at work, hanging out. So if that's the case, you could see the flip side. I totally hear what Patrick Ewing is saying, and I agree with him. He deserves that type of respect in that building. But you just hope it wasn't some sort of deal like that where it's hey man, I make minimum wage and I'm just here to do my job and I need to do this or else I get fired.
I think a lot of people are going to take Georgetown in this game, and I'm rooting for him, to be honest, because I love the story. Even though I said Patrick Ewing wasn't a great hire, it doesn't mean I don't root for Patrick Ewing. Like, I love the guy. He was a star. I loved him growing up, watching him in Big East basketball. He's part of the reason I love basketball. But I think the dream kind of probably ends here. Like,
Colorado's good, man. I mean, you look at like KenPom, they're top 20 in offense, top 30 in defense. They're well coached. They're always well coached by Ted Boyle. He does a really good job out there. He's done.
And they got McKinley Wright, who's a high-level senior point guard.
Talk about point guard play.
Yeah,
that is the key. And the only thing you would say is that you feel like Georgetown has caught this lightning in a bottle.
Maybe.
And they're playing so far above what they've been all year that maybe. But I really like Colorado too, so I don't see it happening.